Hey guys, Greg here at the Vinyl Rundown. It's time for a contest. I'm not a big contest guy because you got a bunch of videos that only have a 2 and 3 week lifespan sitting on your channel forever. But alright, I'm doing this one, and this is for Auditory Vinyl, a guy named Doug, who I don't really know that well, but I saw a couple people do videos for this contest. Looked somewhat interesting. Especially Jeff Witcher did a video in which he really called out Doug for his low-key personality. I was going to say Doug is a very mild-mannered guy, kind of a Midwestern vibe. Clean-cut, nice. As exciting as Hellman's Mayo on Wonder Bread. We're just messing with you, Doug. You got a good channel. You got a great collection. His music and record room is so nice, so nicely organized. He's an organized guy. Let's do a quick pan of my music room because I don't make that many videos in here because the family's usually in here making noise. So we got records over there, guitars, keyboards, amps, records, more records on the wall, guitars, stereo, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is the Vinyl Rundown World Headquarters here in Los Angeles, and it's like almost 100 degrees here today. So let's try to get through this before I collapse. This contest is the 1, 2, 3 contest. 3 easy questions with 1, 2, and 3 records. I'm only going to show those records. Auditory Vinyl Doug is about at 100 subscribers, so he's trying to boost his subscriber count. Okay, let's get to the 3 questions. 1, 2, 3. Number 1, shout out to another vinyl channel. And I'm going to shout out to a channel that needs more than a shout out, let's say. Mr. Sack Blabbath. Do you know this guy?
This is Sack Blabbath, and I'm wearing my COVID-19
I
mask.
think he's on his 4th channel, and I don't know why he keeps making new channels because he doesn't take the old one down. Maybe he forgets his passwords or something. Sack Blabbath, you can tell by the name that he likes metal, he likes Black Sabbath and related bands, but in addition to a shout out, this is kind of a question. Where are you, Sack? We haven't seen you in like 5 months. Are you okay? Does anybody know if he's okay? What's he up to? This is kind of a welfare check. Send the vinyl community police over to his house to make sure Sack Blabbath is okay. Last video I watched of his was made like 5 or 6 months ago, and he was showing Nazareth groups, you know, classic rock. He's a classic rock guy and a hard rock guy. But here's a record I'm thinking he would like this record, but I don't know if he knows it because Americans don't know this record as much as the Europeans do. It's UFO Strangers in the Night, their live album, their double live album. Great artwork. It's got the old cartoony comic book, I should say, comic book style artwork in bright colors. Cool cover. Similar style on the inside with the band members. You got Phil Mogg on vocals. Michael Schenker, of course, the brother of Rudy Schenker from the Scorpions. I like these guys better than the Scorpions. They might not have been as huge, but they got a lot of great songs. This is a rockin' record, and Sack Blabbath, if you don't have it, you should have it, and maybe you have it, you probably do, I don't know. Next question, that was question 1, show 1 album. Question 2, 2 albums, show 2 albums that don't get shown on the vinyl community very much, if ever. I'm going to show you 2 genres of records. Not only do the records not get shown, but the genres never get shown. First we have, for you children out there, young at heart or just immature, children's records. Nobody ever shows children's records on the vinyl community. This is Tubby the Tuba. My son just picked this up at a record store. Walt Disney, Tubby the Tuba, other songs for children about music. It's just a cute little fun thing. We used to get these for 50 cents in the used bin. Now somebody's charging $6 for this. We have a ton of children's records. But this one happened to be the one that's sitting on my shelf because he just bought it. Okay, here's a genre of record you never see on the vinyl community. Maybe for good reason. It is the dreaded spoken word record. Spoken word records could be poetry, politics, history. I have a bunch of how to sell, from the 50s and stuff. Before they had cassettes, before they had YouTube, if you had a message, you had to put it on a spoken word record. Well, here's a record. You're either going to love it or hate it. Let's see where you fall. 1955 or something. The 1950s classic. That's right, folks. Two of our favorite topics. That's it, baby. It's a spoken word record. My son gave this to me as kind of a gag gift. We have a lot of spoken word records, a lot of comedy records, a lot of kids records. We have a whole house full of records, but like I said, this was kind of a gag gift, so I didn't really know about it till making this video. I had to look this up and say, who's this guy, Dr. Walter H. Judd? Is he some kind of ranting lunatic? Actually, he was a congressman from Minnesota. He aligned himself with Chiang Kai-shek, Chinese nationalist leader who was pushing back against Mao Zedong, who came over and spread his red stuff and really destroyed a country and executed hundreds of millions of innocent people. The good old days of communism. Some of you are looking forward to a return of this come November. Some of you were fighting back against it. Anyway, Mr. Dr. Judd, he actually won the Presidential Medal of Freedom, so he was a big deal in his day, but long gone. Ask for it by name. I bet you don't have this. I bet no one here has this record in their collection. Okay, that was 1 and 2. Now we're on to 3. 3 is show us an artist who played in at least 3 different bands. Show us those 3 albums. So let's start with the album. You gotta guess which artist I'm talking about. This is actually like a mini single disc or something. This is a couple of tunes from the Foo Fighters record. What was the run with Give Me Some Rope on it? Whatever that record was, I think. Which Foo Fighter member am I going to be featuring today, guys? Can you guess? There's only a few guesses. It's pretty easy to tell who I'm talking about. That's right. This guy right here. Taylor Hawkins, the drummer, former drummer for the Foo Fighters. One of his side bands is called Taylor Hawkins and the Coattail Riders, which sounds like a cruel Western theme. We're riding out on the coattails. No. Riding someone's coattails means you're following them in their footsteps to ride on the coattails of their fame. Okay, so he's got a lot of, famous musicians on here. And so this is Chris Chaney, who is the bass player for Jane's Addiction. But he and Taylor also played with Alanis Morissette. This guy I don't know that well. But let's focus on Chris Chaney. So Taylor had at least 3 side project bands. I'm going to show you 2 of them today. Coattail Riders. And let's see. There's another record by the Coattail Riders. I think this one actually was full of other Dave Grohl type, guest appearances. Is that the famous Neve mixing console that they did that documentary on? What was it called? Sound Mix in the USA. I forget what it was called. Great documentary about a mixing console that was used not too far from here in a studio in North Hollywood that I guess Dave Grohl bought. So I assume that's the famous mixing console. So Coattail Riders was one of his side projects. And another side project of Taylor Hawkins is Birds of Satan. A nice satanic name. I think the Birds of Satan name, if I'm not incorrect, was like Anthony Kiedis or somebody like that was really wasted and they saw hallucinations and they called them the Birds of Satan. Some musician had a wasted hallucination about Birds of Satan. I think that's where the name came from. So Birds of Satan, side project number 2 that we're talking about, is basically 3 people. Taylor Hawkins on drums, Wiley Hodgen on bass and vocals, and Mitch, I'm going to mess up his name. Mick Murphy. Anyway, those three guys were part of Taylor Hawkins' other side project. Before they came out with Birds of Satan, they had another side project that is my favorite of all of these. It's my favorite of all four of these bands, called Chevy Metal. They had different guitar players. I've seen them play with Chris Shiflett, with Dave Grohl, with Mick Murphy, Pat Smear. So his thing is, Chevy Metal is basically, hey, this is just a bunch of guys who get together and rock out to classic rock tunes. And we have whoever join us, whoever's in town, whatever our buddies want to stop by. I've seen them, a dozen times. And I'm unfortunate enough to live in Los Angeles, so last two times I saw Chevy Metal was at a bowling alley down the street. And there's a reason for this long story. Okay, so after Taylor died, he died in 2022. After he died, Chevy Metal actually came back and replaced a drummer as Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers. And when we saw him play at the bowling alley not too long ago, they had a special guest star appearance by this guy, Cheney. I'm not good with names or dates or faces or places or numbers, but, Alright, so, is that all I wanted to say about Taylor Hawkins? He's got at least 4 bands that I know of. Yeah, the Foo Fighters. 3 side projects. Chevy Metal. Never made an album because all of their stuff is just covers. I've never seen anybody play with as much enthusiasm and just love and passion as Taylor Hawkins, and sing him at the bowling alley or the pizza place or the bar in Malibu. I get to be like this far from him. So that's why I love seeing them better than the Foo Fighters. We're playing tonight in LA. My son's going to go see him on Sunday. When you see him at a giant megadome, it's not as cool as seeing him in a small club where you're 2 inches away from him. So the first time we saw him at the bowling alley, my son and his friend wanted to hang out near the stage door entrance. There is no stage door at a bowling alley. It's the backstage green room was the little room where the kids have their birthday parties. My son and his friend hung out there and we're going to wait here till they come out and get an autograph. I'm not into that. I'm going to go hang out at the bar, So I'm sitting at the bar having a beverage, and then I start getting texts on my phone with photos like this one. Yeah, my son, they opened the door and they invited him in, and they hung out with all these amazing people. Pat Smear, Taylor Hawkins, Jonesy. So I missed that opportunity, but I'm so happy my son got to have that opportunity. And because we have this, neighborhood connection with Taylor Hawkins, his death was extremely upsetting to all of us in the family. And that's why I decided to choose Taylor as my number 3 artist on the Auditory Vinyl 1-2-3 contest. That's about it, guys. Subscribe to me and subscribe to Auditory Vinyl, and check out the list that he's put together of everybody who's made a video for this contest. It's like 35 names deep. Go watch all of them. Make sure you're subscribed to all those people, and keep rock and roll alive, I guess. Okay? Mick Murphy.
United States. We are the target, not Laos, not the Congo or Brazil or West Berlin or Korea. We are the target because we're all that stand between them and total control of the planet. Now let's look at this cancer for a moment. Some people think that there's some changes in it. All during these years, people have grasped at straws, and at the least little change in tactics have led people to think, well, now they're becoming more mature.